Hello, I'm Father Joe Gambala, pastor of St. Malachi Catholic Church in Sterling Heights. Welcome to Saints of the Summer. Today is August the 29th. Today is the feast day of the beheading of St. John the Baptist. This is where John the Baptist becomes a martyr. Now, the story is in Scripture, and it's a sad story. Herod, this is the grandson of Herod the Great, the one that tried to kill Jesus in his infancy. This is the third Herod, and the third Herod is not a king in his own right at all. He's basically a puppet of the Romans. He has a small area that's under his control. He has two responsibilities to Caesar and the Romans: collect the taxes and keep the peace. Well, the people don't like the taxes, and because they don't like the taxes, it's hard for Herod to keep the peace. So Herod has a methodology that he's using, which was common for potentates of this time to control their dukedoms or earldoms or whatever they called it back then. They didn't use that terminology, though. But his subservient kingdom, so to speak, it truly was not an independent kingdom. And Herod would invite the wealthy people over for big feasts, and he would wine them, and he would dine them, and then he would bring in the ladies. And the ladies would perform dances, and the wealthy then would pick the woman they wanted and would go into some chamber room, and, well, you can fill in the blank as to what happens then. That was a method of trying to control the wealthy, who would then keep the other people in line, and then Herod could stay in power. Well, we know that Herod had heard John the Baptist preach and was impressed by the preaching, but of course couldn't give up his power and do the things that John had recommended, and eventually had John arrested because he was afraid of the large crowds that John was gathering, because he felt that these crowds might, form a mob and cause unrest, and if it does unrest and the Romans have to use their troops, they're going to blame Herod for not being able to keep the peace. So John sits in jail, and John is preaching from jail. He's shouting from jail. He's screaming in jail about what a sinner Herod is, because Herod had married his brother's wife. Well, his brother's wife, whose name was Herodias, is not very happy with this and wants Herod to kill John the Baptist, but Herod is too afraid. And besides, he likes listening to John, even though he doesn't have the courage to follow what John says. Well, in one of these feast assemblies that John has assembled with the wealthy, Herod decides to use his daughter, Salome, as one of the women to put out there to appease the wealthy. Yeah, what a horrible thing to do. What a horrible thing to do in period, but to do it to your own daughter, to prostitute your own daughter. But that is what Herod does. And so Salome goes out and does the dance, and well, you can fill in the blank what happens, and that is where Herodias makes her move. She's livid with Herod for doing this to the daughter, and so makes a demand and tells Salome that when Herod asks, "How can I repay you for doing this?" because Herod knows what he's done was just horrible and really owes his daughter something. And so the daughter says, "John the Head's head on a platter." And so, sadly, John is martyred because of the horrible thing Herod had done to his daughter.